take a look at how long the line is to get into the Great American State Fair. It's around 1:30 in the afternoon on 4th of July, and we've been talking to people who say it's taking about an hour to get through the security lines here at the Great American State Fair. And keep in mind, this is just one of the entrances. We've noticed that members of the National Guard have been passing out cold water to people. Sure, I'll take a water, thank you.
Sorry, you
Passing out water to people to make sure that they stay hydrated in the line, but a huge turnout so far on the 4th of July at the Great American State Fair.
It's July 4th here in Washington, D.C. I'm at the Freedom 250 Great American State Fair. I did get a media pass, so I'm going to go and kind of check out all the sights and sounds and show you firsthand what it actually looks like. There is a full security screening, so lines aren't moving that fast, and everyone out here is just kind of standing in the sun, which is brutal. Not sure if you can see it in the sky behind me, but it is the first flyover of the event. All 50 states as well as U.S. territories are represented here. I'm from Illinois, so I'm gonna go see, for example, what does the Illinois booth have? It's very child friendly. They have a bunch of corn over there that the kids are playing with, like corn kernels. They also have Lincoln logs, which represent the architecture of Illinois. This line behind me here is because they are stamping passports. You can get a little passport and go around to each of these vestibules and get your passport stamped. The main spectacle of all this so far seems to be these flyovers that are taking place right now. This right here is a C-17. Actually, when I was in the military, this is what I used to ride to get around to places. My bad, that was a C5. I look like an idiot now. So I've been here for about a half hour now. I've seen 2 people already get picked up in ambulances for heat-related illness. I think the real feel is just over 100 degrees out here today. Thankfully, they are handing out self-service water. You can come up and grab a bottle. It is kept in ice, which is nice too. And it looks like they got a good amount going around. This little truck right here has been constantly driving around, picking people up. So you can see the average lines here for all the vestibules for all these different states. There's just a couple people waiting at each door. For some reason here, Florida has this huge line. They do also have a Fox News, Fox and Friends booth here that you can take a picture at. I find it kind of interesting. I'm not sure what this quite has to do with July 4th. So this is interesting, but they actually have free phone charging. However, they somehow have managed to tie it to Trump accounts, which if you're not familiar is an incentive to help build wealth for children in America. There are some ideas that Trump is offering this because of the lower fertility rate in the US right now, and it's basically an incentive to have more children. The problem is because of how expensive America is right now, the average family doesn't have excess income to pour into these accounts. It really only benefits the wealthy. I'll give you a view of the crowd here, but it's not as packed as I thought it would be considering it is the actual holiday. It is a lot more packed than it was the past few days. Some days they only had a couple dozen people come out, which is crazy. Here's another flyover. I'm gonna see if there's kind of a crowd reaction or anything.
Our nation was built. In God we trust.
So here's the concert stage. As you can see, really, unless you can get a spot in the shade, it doesn't seem like a lot of people are hanging out for the actual concert grounds. I came into one of the pavilions to check them out. They are air conditioned, so a lot of people are just in here hanging out, cooling off. There's basically a bunch of booths for things like SpaceX, NASA. I believe behind me is a booth for Truth Social. We have another person being carried off because of the heat. We also have a dog that they're currently cooling down. Some people are just straight up sleeping on the ground, which I find so funny. Overall, I would say this event is pretty disappointing, really boring. You can see behind me there's empty displays. Over there we got an empty stage. Unless you're eating the food here or walking around to the vestibules, there's not much to do. I guess you could go to the stage and watch the concert there maybe. Really, it's all just kind of underwhelming. I'm gonna hang out for this last flyover. The little boy in me does love all the planes, but I always love a plane. That's why I travel so much. So here it is.
Bunch of MAGA supporters had to seek shelter at the African American Museum in DC because of some rain. And I low-key wish that the mannequins in the museum came to life on some Night at the Museum shit and just started terrorizing all the MAGA supporters. Just W.E.B. Du Bois got the QAnon shaman in the head like.
Here's your very funny reminder that Black history is inevitable. It is not lost on me that crowds of people made their way to DC on the 4th of July to participate in USA 250 programming that explicitly and specifically excluded Black history. It is not lost on me that that crowd of people had to shelter from a storm in the African American History Museum. The ancestors were in their bag. These people knew exactly what they were going to. Out there with literal white nationalists just to end up seeking safety in the Black People Museum. The irony is crazy, but it's deeper than just this rainy day situation. A consistent thread throughout the history of America is the story of Black people fighting for more in this country. Expanded access in education and healthcare and workplace protections, just to name a few. Infrastructure that helps everyone. And as crazy as it sounds, this situation is a part of that history now. Black people fought for over 100 years just to get that museum built, often fighting the very politicians that these kinds of people revere. And despite a century of pushback from your people, we won. That museum exists. You're welcome. I hope some of these people accidentally got radicalized walking around the museum like, oh my God, we did what?
July 4 celebrations here in Washington, D.C. are just not going according to plan. There's been a huge heat wave across the East Coast in the last couple of days, and as a result, this morning they had to cancel their annual parade that goes through the city. Now, we're about 2 hours away from Donald Trump's anticipated speech on the National Mall at his Great American State Fair, but as you can see behind me, all of these people have just been kicked out because there is a huge thunderstorm coming, so they've had to shut down, and the Secret Service has just evacuated everybody from the event.
For your safety, Freedom 250 directing all guests to immediately evacuate the event grounds due to approaching severe weather. It was made in coordination with the National Capital Regional Planning Committee and our public safety partners who always have your safety in mind. Thank you for your cooperation.
Now, they're saying that it will proceed, it will go ahead when the storm passes. They've asked all these people to seek shelter, but people want to keep their spot back in line, so they're just standing here waiting to get back in to see Donald Trump speak.
Look at this treat we have right here. Quote, thousands of patriots are in the rain right now singing the national anthem, waiting for Donald Trump to come get his speech. These folks are insane. They are in a cult. Oh, yes. I love this. They're going to be soaking wet for their dear leader. He's going to have them soaking wet by the time he comes out and speaks to them. You think they would do this kind of stuff with Jesus Christ himself? Heck no. But they call themselves Christians. Wow.
Donald Trump's washed out fireworks drama continues here in D.C. We just got a nice rainstorm, thunder, lightning. Everyone was evacuated, possibly hundreds of thousands of people. I only say that because traditionally we get hundreds of thousands of people to see the fireworks display at the National Mall. I don't know if that happened this year, but they were all evacuated, had to go to federal buildings. Now they're making them go through security again to come back onto the National Mall. That could take hours. Trump just announced that he's moving his speech to 11 o'clock. Now, mind you, presidents don't do speeches before the 4th of July. They don't do speeches before the fireworks because it's about the country. It's not about them. Not this guy. He just announced he's doing his speech, and he's moving his speech to 11 o'clock, which means the fireworks now may not happen until midnight. Now, in Washington, typically our fireworks start at 9:10 p.m., right when the sun has set and it gets dark enough. Not with Donald Trump. Trump moved them back to 10:30, then 11. Now they're saying midnight for the fireworks. Nobody's staying up for. I'm going to bed. I mean, we're not staying up to watch that crap. Guys, it's the old adage about everything Donald Trump touches dies. He has destroyed the 4th of July. He has destroyed the 250th anniversary of our country. He already did that with all the lunacy of the state fair. That was like a kid's fair with little bulletin boards for each state, right? Disaster, that thing. Nobody showed up. Things were falling down off the stage. There was an arch that was oozing goo. And now we have rain destroying the entire event. And just to make sure, Donald Trump himself is going to speak at 11 o'clock at night so the fireworks don't even happen until probably July 5th. What a cluster F this man is. He destroyed the 4th of July.
So Donald Trump was seen falling asleep at his own 4th of July celebration. He couldn't even stay awake for the fireworks. And there were multiple photos captured of this. I mean, in this one, he also just looks like he's passing out, and even Melania seems to kind of realize it. And just in case the MAGA fans are saying, oh, it's just a bad photo, it's bad timing, there's video of it as well. Take a look. Yes, as the performance was happening right in front of him that you could hear in the background, he was falling asleep. He was passing out. Just utterly embarrassing for both Trump and the United States of America.
Donald Trump's July 4th speech in Washington, D.C. was an absolute disaster. It was worse than even expected. The speech was significantly delayed because of a storm in Washington, D.C., but Donald Trump said that he was going to speak anyway and compared himself giving the speech to our troops storming the beaches of Normandy on D-Day. He said if they were willing to make that sacrifice, he'd be willing to make the sacrifice and give this speech. I know how pathetic is that to make such a ridiculous comparison. Then Donald Trump began his speech. He could barely complete sentences. He said that America built the empire of liberty.
We just tamed the wilderness and conquered the frontier and built the empire. It's called the empire of liberty. We laid down the railroads.
Then he continued to glitch throughout his speech.
Joyous and glorious milestones of all time, and you know what that is, 250, the 250th anniversary, and I do have to say this.
He then continued to glitch throughout his speech. He was struggling to complete basic sentences. Let's play it.
And next to it, we also have the flag that was given to that immortal, just a fantastic, immortal Rough Rider, the one and only, and I was at the museum the other day at its opening, Theodore Roosevelt.
And also the attendance was absolutely dismal at Donald Trump's July 4th speech. You can see right here all of the empty seats in the crowd. Donald Trump claimed there's over 150,000 people. He said there was going to be 375,000 people. It didn't even fill the area. I mean, again, look at all of the empty seats right there. A very, very, very tiny crowd indeed. Then Donald Trump started lying and saying how he brought in $19 trillion. The crowd did not seem interested in anything that he was saying.
We have $19.2 trillion being invested in our country, which is 6 times more than ever happened before. We're building more factories in the United States than ever before. Everyone's 401ks are at the highest number they've ever been. And more people are working today in the United States than any time in the history of our country.
Black women on the metro here in Washington surrounded by those folks from the Patriot Front. And then on the left is that classic photo of Elizabeth Eckford surrounded by fellow students at Little Rock's Central High School. She is one of the Little Rock Nine. The parallels here, the symmetry here is startling, Michelle.
That photo is probably Pulitzer worthy. It's a little early to start talking about that, but that photo is one instance of a woman on a bus surrounded by people who are wearing masks, who are about to march in Washington carrying Confederate flags. But I see that photo and I see America's workplaces. I see America's school systems. I mean, those men are wearing masks, but they go and they surround women like her in their workplaces. They will go back to a place where they can take off their mask, and then they will be working someplace where their noxious ideas, will be put in place in hiring decisions, in decisions about who gets a mortgage and who doesn't. However, when I look at them marching, trying to project power, I don't see power. I see fear.
Yeah.
I see the projection of fear. I see people who are afraid of a future that has already arrived. They are afraid of an America that is multicultural. They are worried about a multicultural democracy. They are worried about losing power. They want to create an America where white people and white men are dominant. And, America has to then decide, do we want to hold on to our superpower status? Do we want to be prominent in the world, or do we want to be a supremacist nation?
I see exactly what you see when you say you see fear, because they know what they have done with being the majority in this country. And so their concern is that we, black women, brown women, the black and brown folks who at some point will inherit the majority of this country, will do the same thing to them that they have done to us.
This is the image that will be in history books. Absolutely. I can say that as a former history teacher and historian. This image right here of a woman riding the DC Metro on July 4th, 2026, surrounded by masked members of a hate group on their way to a rally.
And then what happened next? Oh, she got off the bus and went on her merry way. I don't know, there's videos circulating about this young woman doing something not so great on that same bus that day that's on tape. Someone said it was like defecating before it's on tape. I don't know if that's true or not, so I'm not going to, let that go through. So I don't know if that's true or not. People are seeing that. Try to verify that before you think that. Regardless, here is the left's new Superman victimhood mentality news story of the next week or two that you're going to hear. News stations and magazines and articles and your content creators are going to beat this story to death. You want to know what the story was? A black woman was on a bus. A bunch of dudes that are part of some stupid whatever the fuck they're doing, a party of whatever the hell it is. I don't even know what it is, but they are on the same bus. No one's looking at her. No one's talking to her. No one's being mean to her. No one's threatening her. They're not even addressing her. She sat there and went on her merry bus ride with these people, and she got off and went about her business. But nope, the left is going to hope and hope and hope that this is going to be the ace in the hole that's going to finally get America to understand why we're so angry and you should have voted for who we wanted you to, right? This is just the latest woke virtue signal. And it's not about having common sense, right? That's what's warping these young minds, right? It's about regurgitating the same story she has seen a million times by every other left-wing content creator, news creator, which we all know. And it's nothing new, nothing of nuance. It's just repeating the same shit that you've heard everybody else say, right? Right. This isn't racism, my dear. This is a bunch of people on a bus and a person took a photograph and you think it's something that should be on the cover of Times and covered in the Smithsonian. She got on a bus and took a bus ride with a bunch of people who were paying absolutely no attention to her, and she got off and went on her merry little way. No problem, no crime, no harassment, no racism, but you guys are going to make it racism, right? You guys are going to scream, whoa, racism, these white supremacists, and this is what your news is going to beat. They're not going to cover the 250th year. They're all going to cling to this story because they are inherently trying to get people who voted for someone that they don't like to see that this country is terrible and inherently racist. And they're going to hold on to these fake virtue signal woke justice bullshit stories. They literally took this picture and they made their entire scenario about this picture that none of that actually happened. And they all get on here and repeat, this is America. You got Aaron Pardes with, this is some serious breaking news. This is what America looks like today. What, Aaron? A young girl got on a bus surrounded by a bunch of idiots that are masked on their face, and then they got off and went on their separate ways? No. Y'all, this is why the young kids in this country feel the way that they do because they're being led by people like this. And of course, she's a teacher. Of course, she's a teacher. Ma'am, you took a story, a picture, and you just saw everybody else saying stuff about this picture, and you just ran with it. This woke, fake virtue signaling bullshit, I'm so tired of it.
I hope you guys had a very happy and safe 4th of July. If you did anything, if you just chilled in the house, nothing wrong with that too, because in a lot of places it was hot. I had an event that popped up that I was invited to, so this was the first 4th of July in years I actually had plans, and I had a good time. I was out all day, or else you guys would have had this video a lot earlier. I probably should have done it yesterday, but I was a little tired. So sorry for the delay on this one, but as you could see, the Patriots showed up and they showed out. All 2,000 of them. And now I knew it was going to be more people since it was the actual holiday, as I mentioned in my other videos, but damn, I mean, y'all really stayed y'all asses at home, MAGA. I can't believe it. Anytime it's to come out in support of your president, y'all choose to stay home. But oh, when it was for that January 6th to disrupt the country and our democracy, y'all was all for that. There were more people at that than there were for this America 250, Freedom 250, however you like to call it. Looks like they referred to it as both from what I could see. But isn't that something? The patriots that ride so hard for this man, y'all didn't even come to show y'all support for him. After he started his speech at 11 p.m. for you guys, he waited till it was cool outside to do so. He smoked out the city for you guys with 50,000 fireworks. I forgot to include that in the video, but I'm sure you guys saw clips of the miraculous fireworks display that was put on for the area that was left with so much smog in the aftermath, to where I think they had to deem it, from a couple clips that I saw here on YouTube, that it was actually like a toxic level. They mentioned it was like a toxic level of like smog and smoke and fumes, that because of all of the fireworks that happened that night. And this man had to make it about himself so bad that, correct me if I'm wrong, because I didn't watch it on TV. I got back real late on 4th of July. So, well, practically July 5th, I guess, if you want to be technical. So I don't know what time the display went off. From what I've seen, it looks like it went off pretty late. Now, at least they had fireworks that went off without a hitch, besides all of the smoke and everything. So at least y'all got to enjoy that. But I find that it's so funny that even Independence Day, taking back America, didn't draw in his MAGA crowd. That crowd was so empty, all of those seats that were open, and the fact that he still fell asleep. You would think with it being delayed with all of the storms, he would have had some nap time during that point. He still fell asleep in the midst of all of the performances and the activities and everything. So laughable. Wants to make it about himself so badly that when it comes to anything else celebrating America, he just dozed off. That's very telling to me. And I wanted to put like different perspectives on it. That's why I have the multiple clips. And I'll give it to him. It was a little bit more busy than it was in the previous days. Like I said, of course it was going to be, because people were looking for things to do during the holidays. But to say that it was 375,000 people, I don't even think that many people came in total over the past week and some change this thing has been open. And yeah, as we can see, Trump just does not draw the crowd like he used to. I told y'all in the previous video that I did regarding the state fair that this was going to be a sign of like where the country is headed and like how people are viewing this man right now. And I don't want to hear anybody from MAGA saying that it was because of the rain or the storm. Nope, y'all will come out for everything else. All of the people from the tri-state area that are MAGA should have been there to support their man. I don't want to hear anything about the heat, storm, anything. If y'all support him as much as y'all say y'all do, y'all should have been there no matter what it was, because nothing stops y'all when it comes to him. Y'all want to believe him for everything. Y'all want to say he does nothing wrong. So a little rain or a little storm passing shouldn't have stopped y'all. Interesting. But I also find interesting was the fact that so many of them went to the African American Museum to seek shelter, which I think has so much irony to it that I can't even put it into words. Like, I think the couple videos that I included did it perfectly. But the irony is not lost on me that they had to evacuate. Even the fact that there was a storm that passed through over their beloved 4th of July day in DC, where they were about to get ready to go listen to their man speak. I do also want to speak about, that's why I wanted to put it towards the end, because I wanted to spare you guys who did not want to listen to that drivel. I do want to mention the Patriot Front picture that's been going around with the young lady that's sitting on it's hard to tell if it's a bus or a train. I've heard both, but whatever mode of transportation it is, that one picture that's been going around, I definitely want to speak about that, because if you made it through the entire clips from all of the creators and you sat through all of the stuff that woman at the end, Miss Ma'am at the end, was saying, it pretty much there's a lot more to it, but it pretty much just wraps up why we're in the situation that we're in now, because people like that do not see the issue with why that picture was so significant and why it made the round so much. They want to diminish it as, and you saw how she referred to Patriot Front, that white supremacist group. I should have included more clips of them, but I'll spare you guys. And actually, before I get into it, it's so weird because about a month ago, a story popped up on my notifications about them, and I was going back and forth on whether I wanted to do a video about it. But now I think I might go ahead and do so, because this was a sign saying that I should. So I might do a dedicated video just on them. But pretty much, if you guys do not know, just to sum it up what they are, they're pretty much trying to make themselves as the new age Gen Z KKK. That's pretty much all I could say. They claim that they're nonviolent, but I don't know about that. I've seen clips where they look like they are, and I have seen clips where they assaulted a man. So I don't quite believe that. But not to get too far into it, but the fact that that lady at the end wants to diminish these people as just idiots with masks on, that just in itself describes the whole problem of why we're never going to get ahead in this country when it comes to racism, because people like her and people that are in MAGA thinks that there's no big deal about this, that this is just a regular everyday thing that you see going on through life. And yes, I could see what she means is that, a lot of things could be taken from a picture. I get that. But the fact that she wants to say that, oh, these were just some idiots in some face coverings, where she knows that these people is a white supremacist group. And she fails to acknowledge that. She does mention it. I cut the video short because our video is almost 10 minutes and she's just rambling on and repeating the same thing. So I cut it down just to spare you guys. And already my videos are long enough with just me speaking and the other videos that I included. But if you want to go, her handle is in the watermark. You could go on TikTok and see what she has to say if you want to hear her whole spiel about it. But she pretty much repeats herself. And that's what I'm saying. And a lot of the comments too that I saw on various videos speaking about this photo is about, oh, they wanted to diminish it as AI. They wanted to make it seem like, oh, she was the safest she'd ever been in her life on that train. I think I'll actually have some of those screenshots scrolling by, hopefully. But that's the problem. Whenever it comes to acknowledging white supremacy, they always want to make it seem like, oh, it's no big deal, when black people are the ones that are the most dangerous. Brown people are the ones that are most dangerous. Muslim people are the most dangerous. Middle Eastern, everybody else is the most dangerous. But when there's an actual white supremacist group who have gone public many times, and this is another fact about them, this group usually only comes out around holidays, like quote unquote patriotic holidays. So like Memorial Day, they popped up somewhere. I forgot where they were. I saw videos about that too, but usually that's when you'll see them. So the fact that they chose to go to Washington, D.C. for Independence Day, it's not totally surprising. I don't know if they go every year. I think they just go to random cities. I think they were in Virginia for Memorial. I could be wrong, but anyway, I just wanted to put that out there too. So I should have expected them to pop up somewhere, but it's just so crazy the fact that these people will never want to acknowledge, like, hey, people that are non-white might think a white supremacist group are dangerous. They want to make it seem like it's people on the left that are sounding deranged and wanting to make up stories, wanting to make it seem like it's a bigger deal, blowing it out of proportion. Yeah, that's the number one thing they love to do when everything technically that she said could be applied to MAGA. They think Black and Hispanic people and brown people are trying to take over the country and bring it down and bring in way more crime and violence. So the same thing she's saying that leftists and liberals are doing could be applied to MAGA, which I think is so interesting to me. And like I was saying before, it's like, yes, a lot can be taken from a picture just from what we see. Rosa Parks sitting on that bus did make it into history books. And anything could have happened that day. Obviously, she got off that bus safely, but that picture is ingrained in Black history because it was a monumental time in Black history, as is this, because one singular woman, of course, I'm not sure how old she is. She could be a young lady. She could be my age. I don't know. She looked pretty young, so I'll just call her a young lady. One young lady in a bus train full of white supremacists. You don't think that's a moving photo? Yeah, they didn't acknowledge her. They didn't tell her anything, but how do we know they didn't? Was minding her own business like they technically were. But just like you're saying, how do we know she was harmed or hurt? How do you know she wasn't? They always like to make it seem like leftist people are out of control and we are angry and everything, but ma'am looked pretty angry to me. And she went on to say, this is why I don't trust mainstream journalism, blah, blah, blah. Of course you're not, because they're putting a magnifying glass on the BS that y'all support, and y'all don't like that. And I get it. I'm not saying that mainstream media is perfect. There's things that they try to hide or they try to not talk about. I agree. But you want to make it seem like this was no big deal. Yeah, because you support what those people who were on that bus or train are about. So you don't think it's a big deal, but people that are in minority groups see the issue with that photo. Even white people that are not with this MAGA BS could see why this picture was so moving. But no, they want to just turn a blind eye to everything to make it seem like, oh, this is just men that was just riding the bus as they have the freedom to do. Yeah, they have the freedom to do that, but you're leaving out the fact that they're white supremacists and they feel like most likely that young lady should not even be in America or be on that bus or train. That's what they're failing to realize. And a lot of them too, and I want to bring this up too before I forget, they're wanting to bring in the unfortunate situation that happened with Irina. I want to say that happened last year. A really unfortunate situation. I'm sure most people heard about it. The young Ukrainian girl that got stabbed on the train by the Black passenger. Super unfortunate. It's so sad. It's so gut-wrenching that we saw this on video. Like, it still shakes me to my core. They want to bring up the fact that, oh, well, that the Black young lady was saved, but this white young lady wasn't. I was on TikTok a lot at that time because it was a lot going on, and I didn't see one Black person saying that was okay. I saw Black people saying what their reaction would have been and criticizing the people that didn't do anything. I didn't see anybody saying, well, he was just a crazy Black man. That was random. That could have been anybody. I didn't see a Black person, a Black creator saying anything to try to diminish the horrible situation that occurred on that train. That is horrible. I hope that man is in prison for the rest of his life for doing that. They always want to bring these things up just to make it seem like, again, the black people are the most dangerous people in this country, that everyone else is the danger to this lady in MAGA. But when anyone wants to bring up the fact that there are white supremacists in this country, which we should all know as adults exists in this country, they want to make it seem like, oh, those are just guys in masks, dummies in masks that are just coming together for a meeting. That's how they see it. When we see it as white supremacists trying to get into power to spread this propaganda and invoke fear amongst other citizens of the country. Before I go on any longer, you guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. If you made it to this point, you know I appreciate you as always. Let me know what you think about any of this down below. Did you guys go to DC to celebrate this? I don't even know why I asked y'all that. And also, before I forget, I did hear a lot of back and forth on TikTok. I want to actually include this just in case anyone makes it to this point too. A lot of people in the comments were saying that the long lines were for fireworks on the National Mall and not for the state fair. So if you're a DC native or local, let me know if that's what it was. I just want to know just so we can have some context because I've never been to DC. So I'm not sure. So let me know down below if that was the fireworks line or if that actually was to get to the fair, because I'm a little confused. I don't know. But anyway, you guys, that's all I have. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you found any value in this video, and it would be greatly appreciated. It's free. One of the last free things that we have in this country. So that would be most definitely appreciated if you decide to do so. And that's all I have. So I'm going to catch you guys in the next video. Bye. See you later.